This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from the entire Shatter Me series, with mentions of ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and The Hunger Games. For full list, please see show notes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are completing the Shatter Me series by discussing Defy Me, Imagine Me, and the novella Believe Me, all by Tahereh Mafi.
And I think it's important to say we are different people from the first, at least I am. The first time I started reading this series was in 2020. I was at the beginning of my fantasy journey. If you've been following ACOFAE, we've covered it as, Shatter Me. Honestly, all of the books except the novellas. This is the first time we're discussing a novella, which is also rare because usually we're very much like, if the author writes it, you should read it. Very different experiences, very different reading approaches also, because I remember in our previous episodes, I had said, I was reading this like an ACOTAR high school AU. You could Kenji is the himbo Cassian that the fandom has kind of established for his personality. But I do remember when it came to reading Believe Me, which was released in November 2021, I remember where I was. I remember I was stuck in traffic outside the Lincoln Tunnel heading to a work event. And I was so angry for Aaron Warner. Ultimately, these books they seem to blend, especially this tail end. Laura, I think you can agree. Because some of the key plot points I had remembered, I thought these were going to be the reasons that we were really excited to discuss this, resisting, fight for democracy. Let's raise the reestablishment. And the key plot point that I forgot was none of that's happening.
Jesse, you are absolutely right. Of course, you are right on most all things. None of that happens. Not only does the fighting essentially stop, the story goes from resistance, fight, as you say, to, oh my gosh, our figurehead has been kidnapped. We have to go get her. The soldiers won't be loyal if we don't have our figurehead. They pledged to her, not us. We have to go get her. Oh my God, she's been kidnapped again. We have to go get her. Oh my God, she has no memory. Oh my God, we have to fix this. Oh, now she's married. It is quite a roller coaster, but here's the thing. On ACOFAE, we love growth. And growth is what is being shown here. Because, Jess, what's your Goodreads on these?
Ooh, my Goodreads, you know what? I read on vibes. I was coming off my ACOTAR high. My Goodreads score for Defy Me is 4 stars. And my Imagine Me rating was 3. I still stand with the 3. I have stepped away from rating. I'll write a review, but I don't rate books as much as I used to because everybody's star system is different and it's its own conversation. But I do remember that final book feeling very anticlimactic. All of a sudden, she kills her sister. That's it. Oh, by the way, spoilers if you didn't catch up on to now. She kills her sister at the request of her sister. She was done being a human experiment for science and the government. And that was it. And then we go into the epilogue, which winds up being the first 2 chapters of Believe Me, because clearly there was a demand for it being oh my gosh, well, now what happens? And I just remember being so upset. I was upset for Warner, really. Poor man. Like, he has been through it. And then he keeps getting pulled through it.
Yeah, justice for Aaron Warner. Here's the thing. I was really uncomfortable, I think, reading this just because it was, and I'm sure, here's also kind of the thing. I'm sure that this is the point, right? I'm sure I'm supposed to feel this way, but I felt this way and I didn't like it. I was uncomfortable with the way that Juliet's like, just the way that she's treated, the way that her body is treated, the way that her mind is treated, just the way that she does not have control over herself over and over and over again. Because it feels like the story is less about like her reclaiming herself and more about what has been done to her. And it is uncomfortable to sit with what has been done to her because she's our heroine. And it's just like, you know, you want to self-insert, but like, actually, not at all though, because fuck that. I don't want anything to do with that, which makes it a difficult read, which is probably the fucking point.
That's such a good point. Like the lack of bodily autonomy. And when she starts having a voice for herself, talk about memory erasures because they want her to be compliant, which happens in that final book of Imagine Me. They want her to be compliant. They want her to be submissive. They want her, whatever. I mean, hell, he was like, if I told you to cut off your finger, will you? And she's just like, okay, whatever you want me from me. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. It's also, I'm going to make a weird comparison, like a Lolita thing with Anderson.
Yeah.
Because he's so fucking creepy with it. Cause it's not like overtly sexual, but it's gotta be like some sort of weird tickle in his brain to do all of this stuff to this little girl that he's known almost her whole life. Like, this fucking nasty.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that man is one of the most sadistic people here. And then, you know, I think it was one of the researchers, because she was just like, this guy's kind of attractive, but I don't think she meant it in a sexual way. It was just, actually, she didn't. And it was very much I was like, oh, no wonder she's on it with Adam and Warner. Like, obviously, that he has some good genes.
Yeah.
I know. But I don't think she meant it in a sexual way, nor did I think that the author wrote it that way either. But it was really weird and interesting. And he was like, he goes to the researcher, and the researcher's like, it's your genetic. I mean, have you seen who she's hooked up with? Have you seen who she's dated? You need to get that out of your head. And then when he's like worried about her state of being, and I use that in air quotes, he's like, it's really throwing me off how you think I'm attractive and how I'm caring for you, but I still really hate you. And there's things that you don't realize that I hate you for. You hate her because she loves your son? And every time that you erase her memory, it's so fucked. And then you like, I don't know if they were trying to make us feel bad that he was an abuser as a parent because he was abused and drank bleach as a kid, and that's what his parent. I don't fucking care. Like, don't make me feel bad for you, because I won't.
Yeah, no, I don't care. I hope you choke on that bleach. Like, I don't give a shit. It's fucking weird. It's weird. It's weird that he takes such like perverse joy in it, and then he tortures his son in the same like weird way. He killed his wife. Like, it's just strange. So
his father-in-law.
Yeah, like, it's fucking weird. So then okay. So I understand then the point of the story when he does like a full 80 and he's like, no, you can't do this to Juliet. And Juliet run, and he starts to like protect Juliet from everybody at the end of Imagine Me. But it's also just fucking weird. And I was never able to really like get that kind of straight in my head. I was just so like creeped out by it. Again, that's probably the point. So unless I'm ascribing a little bit too much to these stories, but the way that the language is, the way that it's written, the way that everything is very descriptive, it's evoking these kind of feelings. So it has to be on purpose. I don't know if the author meant to make Kenji the most insufferable little asshole that has ever existed. But it was successful if that was the goal, because oh my God. Now, I know, here's the thing about me. I'm not in the Shatter Me fandom. Sorry. I don't know if that's a surprise to anybody. But I know that people really love Kenji. I know this.
Yeah.
I know that he is beloved. Here's the thing. I didn't read the novellas. I'm not interested. Clearly, you can hear that. But if you love Kenji, just from the canon original books, tell me why. Because he has his moments. He has his moments. He does. Overall, though, annoying as fuck.
I remember, again, I didn't reread the novellas for us to cover this, but I remember reading the novellas, loving Kenji. I remember also knowing, like, towards the end, I was like, come on. You had so much growth in the novellas. We got to see insight for you there. Not reading them didn't take away from this. Although some of the moments where there was like, oh, Nazira and I had 5 days away from here and we kissed there almost. And I was like, if you didn't read the novellas, you wouldn't have known that, like that whole backstory. Yeah, I wonder, remember that experiment we did a while back for the Shelby Mahurin series? I think it was Serpent and Dove, where it was like, we read this through audio. Would we have stepped away from it differently if we had read it traditionally? I don't know. I feel like to an extent, because the audio makes him feel very invasive, no personal boundaries, no, like, and I don't know if it was the delivery of the narrator.
Okay. That's a great point. That is a fantastic point. Here's building on what you're saying. 'Cause I read this through the library. Hello.
Shout out public libraries. Support your public libraries.
Yeah. I use the Hoopla app, which is connected to my local library, and I was able to read Imagine Me and Believe Me through my local library. Defy Me, I had to go fucking track down. So, there's that. But just to your point about if I had read a physical copy, here's the thing about that. Throwing it back to our Long Live Evil episode and the complaint there about how in the physical copy it was difficult to differentiate who was speaking and the narrator and the voice and all of that. I want to say that here, listening to the audio here, my complaint is that it was very difficult for me to parse when we were in like memories in the past and when we were like in now, but like remembering things, or things are like dreams or like internal, like mind thoughts. That was very difficult for me.
That's such a good point. And again, because I've never read these books traditionally, makes me wonder if those flashbacks were italicized. Yeah, right. Because I feel like it took a minute to decipher. Also, to decipher where we were, it winds up being a dream sequence or a memory flashback. But how about when we were interchanging Juliet's accent? She was interchanged, and then all of a sudden, now she has her memories, but she doesn't have her accent.
Right. But she's
At
a better
point, it's the New Zealand / Aussie accent. I don't know what the narrator was trying to, because it's Oceania. Because it's just like, they kind of use it as kind of like this Pangea effect for New Zealand and Australia. That I just didn't know what they were trying to do. And then we're like, you know what? I'm not going to do this an accent anymore for Juliet, because Juliet, growing up, she's Ella, and she's trying to decipher who she is as a person. And then even at the end, Aaron's like, we only use Ella because I've known her my whole life and we have this deep history. But like, I love that she reclaimed Juliet as her own. She's like, this memory that I have now, I know myself as Juliet. I know I have a past of Ella, but I'm going to keep that for Aaron.
I mean, okay. I think we can parse this out pretty easily. In Defy Me, we learn the backstory, and in Imagine Me, we have action, I think, is what's important. So, and what I mean by that is in Defy Me, just to what you are saying, we are learning from Nazira that Nazira's got the pictures. She's like, yo, I have known her since we were kids. Like, Aaron has known her since we were kids. Like, Adam, shut the fuck up. You do like this old, like this broken version of this girl. Like, no one cares about you. This is what, like,
guess what? We still don't care about Adam at the end.
We still don't care. Like, fuck off. You sold yourself out and gave your power, and then fuck off, Adam.
Again, you made a decision without telling everybody else.
Yeah, you made another bad decision. We're shocked about it. And Nazira is just like, yo, look at this photograph. And is what? Did I break you?
we just went on a Nickelback listening party a couple weeks ago.
And Nazira's like, we were friends. I remember her. All of us are getting our memories back because Emmeline is like, you know, zapping everybody's brain and giving them their memories back.
She's having her surge, you know, she's dying. And so she's like, here's my end of life surge. Yeah. Everybody get your memories back. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I got, you know, woo, woo, woo. But also Emmeline is going to go hunker into Juliet's brain and like fucking camp out there for a while and make her go into a coma. That's the other thing too that is so upsetting about it is like even her sister is like even this good thing, you know, that her sister is doing takes over her body. Like again, there's a lesson there, all of it, but like, damn, again.
Yeah. And I mean, and you're right with the focus, like how we kind of have to break it down because Defy Me is very much us learning about Juliet's basically her whole life up until now, her connections with Nazira, her connections with all of the children of like the Supreme Commanders, Aaron. And then because we think she like massacres the symposium where we ended with the previous book. She doesn't. She just kind of gets kidnapped in that moment. And it's just two very different worlds that are happening. It's her flashbacks while she's still being experimented on with her, I don't want to say biological parents, but like her initial parents, because she's kind of like a test tube experiment baby. And then you have the whole other side of we have to find her and we have to bring her to this new location that's supposed to be safe. And that's pretty much the first book. And with the how we get her back and then being I was thinking about how it was actually in chapter 3. It matches the pattern. At first I was like, I'm throwing the pattern. I'm not thinking about it out the window until they said, oh, like they made these kids in test tubes. And I was like, they did. This is the pattern. It's all confirmed.
Yeah, it's like they did do that. That's, that's another thing too. They're like, we made you too pretty. Your beauty is like, useless. Why did we make you so pretty? Like Aaron is so pretty. We made you all so pretty. It's like, that's weird. What? Okay. All right.
Also, if I can pick how I could look like, why wouldn't I be gorgeous? Lysandra did that because she was like, I realized pretty privilege. And then Dorian is like, Kale is like, why are you all so goddamn hot?
It's strange.
It's also fantasy dystopian. Let them be pretty and let's just talk about it.
Yeah. And talk about dystopian. That's the thing. It is so dystopian. And okay. I know intellectually that dystopian means a certain thing, but it is difficult to read this and keep that like spark of joy. And like, I know that's like a Hunger Games issue too, but like this in particular, you're reading it, and at the end of, I think it's at the end of Defy Me, Juliet is like, and this is why, you know, at Warner's birthday party that she's throwing. Yeah. She's like, you know, this is why we're fighting. Like, we're fighting for joy. You know, we have to celebrate the engagements and the happiness and the birthdays. Like, who are we if we're not like joyful? It's like, I don't know. Do you know what, Juliet? I don't know, because y'all are never fucking joyful. Like, you're happy in like these very small pockets. You want to talk about trauma bonding? Like, the trauma bonding here is ridiculous. And it's also a weird, I mean, I guess I should come out and say that I hate the memory loss trope. I hate the memory loss trope.
Oh, we've had a couple memory loss things. I guess we have talked about it, but it makes sense. We have actually talked about, I didn't realize you hated it as a trope, but I know you didn't like it because it's like the unfair advantage that comes with it. But to an extent, everybody's memories were lost. Like, all of the kids kept getting wiped. So there was not that, like, oh, that unfair advantage of, like, I'm going to force you to remember and fall in love with me the way I want you to fall in love with me.
I was fine with the play on memory until Imagine Me, when Juliet's completely wiped and she is Anderson's personal assistant. I was like, no. Absolutely not. This is so fucking icky. I can't do this.
Can I, you know, talking about audio experiences, and it's been a while, I didn't know if this was some sort of inserted memory, if it was actually happening, or if it was like this dream state until, oh, I guess this really is happening.
Which you
and this is a reread. And this is a reread for me. I was like, oh, is she dreaming? Did they insert this memory? Because again, she's a human lab rat, like just being experimented on. And that's also, again, like to what you said, it's definitely part of the conversation that you are meant to feel uncomfortable. It wouldn't also surprise me if this was happening. I've watched Scandal, B613 exists, like that kind of thing. It wouldn't surprise me. And she was the backup. She was the spare, the heir and the spare between her sister. And then they wanted to say like, oh, her sister wasn't strong enough. No, you like eviscerated her. It had nothing to do with being strong enough.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, all right. You bring up such a good point where I'm just like, I have the ick. This is the thing. I have the ick, and it's the ick because there is just so much medical stuff. There is so much graphic medical stuff, and I cannot stand graphic medical stuff. I'm just a little like whiny pussy baby. So like when she's talking about like, you know, her mom's got her strapped down and like the pain blooms behind her eyes and like goes down to her toes and like the needles and all of this stuff. I'm just like, ick. I don't want to experience this. Of course, you know, again, we're meant to be uncomfortable. I guess probably I am just putting that on there. But like, I was very uncomfortable. And it kind of then goes to the like addicted to tragedy conversation, because that's a conversation that people have with Aelin. Honestly, they say like, how much bad shit can one person take? Like, let's just keep piling it on, and like eventually. Well,
I guess I was gonna say it's like it's the trauma too. No, to like. Tragedy is all you know, so it's like a comfort thing, or like that's how, not even a comfort thing, it's just like you know how to function in one capacity, so you're always going to revert to that unless you like unbreak that habit.
But it's I'm kind of taking it in a different conversation to say like with this and kind of with Aelin, and then moving it to TV. I mentioned earlier, Justin, when you and I were talking before this with The Walking Dead, it's like, how much tragedy can you actually stomach before you just, one, stop caring? You're just like, you know what? I don't care about this anymore. Or two, you're in it because you want to see the resolution, but you don't have any joy in it anymore.
Oh.
Because it's just like this, it's just bad things over and over and over again, where it's gone beyond repetitive, where it's like almost kind of painful. And it's just like, why am I watching this? Is it some sort, or like, why am I reading this? Is it some sort of like loyalty that I have? Do I just need to stick it out? You could kind of go with, bring this to like a DNF conversation too.
I was just going to say, this is like DNFing.
Yeah. So like, what is it? Because when you are slogging through a lot of this trauma, sometimes that can be very beneficial to a reader. You are very reflective, you're introspective, you are applying like, current events and world events to what is going on. Sometimes that can just like fucking break a person. So like, again, that conversation could be also like trigger warning conversations as well, because I don't really think there are any in this book, and I do feel like there should be.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So like that's kind of part of it too. All of that to say that these people are so deeply trauma bonded, that it is clear though that a lot of them just don't like each other. Like, and the whole thing with Warner, like, I think it's in Believe Me, maybe, or maybe Imagine Me, where Juliet has to like plant her feet and be like, stop saying shitty things to
Believe
Warner's
me.
fucking face.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? He can hear you. You think he's a fucking robot? Like, he's a person. Like, stop it. Like, that's something. Because they don't, I don't know. I guess those are like family dynamics too, but like, I don't know. The vibe, I guess what I'm trying to say in summary is that the vibes are weird.
Yeah. It's funny because there's a line that Juliet internally says at some point about finding and like going with her found family, but I don't feel like they're a found family. I believe that Juliet has people who she considers members of her found family. But when you talk about quote unquote found family, it's usually a dynamic of people, like a quorum that is that family dynamic. And I believe strongly that she has familial relations with these people around her, but I don't think that's reciprocated within each other. Like Kenji with Brandon or Kenji with Warren, or like maybe Kenji and Castle because they have more of that like father-son relationship. And obviously Kenji with Juliet, but it's not in a fully function. We are people who work together. We are people who have a common goal. We are people who are friendly with each other, but I'm not going to consider them all found family.
And I honestly don't think they have a common goal outside of like not dying and like and forming some sort of support around Juliet, who has become like a figurehead there.
Yeah, because it's not even like before in the earlier books that we've covered 1 through 5. It was very much, I believe it was 5, 4, 5, I think 3, 4, 5. I don't know. But it was very much, the reestablishment, rise against the government. That doesn't feel like it's happening so much in these tail end of the books. Even though like there's like a couple and I mean a couple. It's literally just Anderson figurehead, Nazira's dad, because Juliet's parents are dead.
Well, that's the thing. It's rise against the parents. It has stopped. It has stopped becoming rise against the government, take over the government, fix the world. It turned into rise against our parents and, take some sort of control back on ourselves and our surroundings, pretty much. Because Emmeline is in charge of the surroundings, right? She's in charge of the weather and like all of that. Am I getting that right? Like,
I don't know if it was.
She's got something to do with the environment.
I just don't. It's all mush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's in the tube. She's got something to do with the environment. So, like, something will happen.
Because it was, like, storms and stuff when she started taking over, like, Kenji's brain, and then she was basically like, you're dumb shit. Yeah.
Nah.
She's like, you're not good enough for me.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing, too, where I was afraid when I was reading this, like, is Emmeline going to try to fully take over Juliet?
Yeah.
And is that going to be some weird sister sacrifice, like you can have me kind of thing? Because it would be in character, at least I think, for Juliet to do that for Emmeline, you know, take my body, like, you know, live the life you should have had, all of that kind of thing. It didn't end up happening, which I'm glad, but we did have those moments of like when Juliet is in that coma and Emmeline is like exploring her body. She's like exploring teeth and the weight of hair and like the eyes and all of these, the fingers that separate all of these things. And the language is just like, damn, you might want to stay there, huh?
And she's recognizing it too, while at the same time not holding her. Not at any point did she consider her sister like this enemy of the state against her. She's like, how awful must it be that you were turned into this amphibian-like, lack of senses species at this point? This must be so cathartic and full of freedom for you to take over my body. Also, but I know I'm still there because my mind is like, I kind of, there's a lot of people that I miss. I'm still there.
Also, though, Juliet had the opportunity to kill Emmeline in the very beginning, I believe, of Defy Me, in Defy Me. And she was like, no, I can save you. And Emmeline is like, no,
I don't want to be saved.
Don't save me. I don't want to be saved. Like, that's what this was. And if she had just like, well, this is the story of Juliet, though, right? If she had just done what everyone told her to do when they asked her to do it, then none of the things would have happened. Because if she had just killed Emmeline right there, like, what are the rest of the books? Like, nothing. Like,
I'll take it further back. What is our ACOFAE? No head, not dead. So in book 2, if she severed Anderson's head, like most people should have, we would not be here. Like, maybe, but also not.
Well, and Juliet says that too. She's like, I was so stupid. I should have listened. I should have never assumed that Anderson's body was like in the water or whatever. I should have gone and made sure. I was like, yeah, you really should have.
You really should have.
You really should have. Like, why are you a moron? What? Why would you not confirm that your number one enemy, the tormentor of your whole life, why would you not confirm that he's dead? I just couldn't be me. It couldn't be me.
And wasn't she hooking up with Aaron at that point too? So like, or something that she knew that was his dad?
Yeah.
I would have been like, and this is for Aaron, motherfucker.
Yeah, like bang, bang. Like, you know, and but she had the power within her all along. Right, Jess?
Oh, debatable. And here's the thing. I have been... romance is like usually, I don't want to say it's my top tier, but it's like, it's always my fallback genre that I lean into. And I've been doing a lot of self-discovery, and we'll discuss it in our Thankful episode. But she says, I had the power in me all along. But did she? Because you can argue, oh yeah, she defeated the mind control over and over again. But she didn't, in the sense that she needed Aaron to help her remember. And like, her horniness, honestly.
Yeah. And the fact... You're right. Obviously, of course, you're right. You're always right with this. She needed so much. Like, she needed so much. It wasn't just Aaron, too. It was just like, it was everything. Sometimes it was her friend. Sometimes it was Kenji. Sometimes it was like these other factors.
See, and here's the, like, if the conversation is again, we're talking about like maybe this is the point, that it's okay to lean on other people. It doesn't always have to be you. If we want that to be the point of discussion for this, then that's because that's what it is. She relied on her friends. She relied because everybody, it was a rescue mission. I think that's how you had shared it ahead of us recording tonight. Everybody was always on a rescue mission for Juliet. And that's okay to lean on people if that was the message. But don't go ahead and have Juliet saying, I had the power in me all along, because then we can go back to the Wren and the Holly library where she actually did have the power all along. And the MMC was like, oh, here I was going to save you. And you got you killed the guy and you got yourself out of the situation. That's really hot. That's not what happened here. It was a group effort, which is also fine. But don't try to say that this message is something else.
Yeah. And also, too, it was a group effort until it wasn't, because that makes Juliet our heroine, right? Like, Juliet's the only one strong enough to do all of these things. But she needs everyone behind her to get her there, you know? So it is like a group effort in that kind of way. But also, it's just like, God damn, like how everyone is sacrificing so much but you know, it's a story, it's the plot, but like all of this could have been solved just so long ago. So again, it's the conversation of like, why are we dumping so much tragedy onto these characters? Why can't we? But again, I haven't read the novellas. Are the novellas then the happy points?
I don't remember. I don't feel like they are. It's just like more background on the characters. It's like if think of it how in Frost and Starlight, each of the chapters was more insight to like somebody in the inner circle. That's how I feel like what I recall the novellas being, of like, you know, the first novella was like an Adam focused novella. And then there was like a Kenji and Nazira focused novella. And I think there was an Aaron focus. Like it was like what's going on in their internal minds. But I also wonder, because she started, and I know we talked about this in like the earlier Shatter Me episodes, that she started writing Shatter Me, releasing Shatter Me in 2011. Then she like plowed out Restore Me in 2018, Shadow Me, which is a novella, in 2019, Defy Me, which is what we're covering today, in 2019, and another novella in 2019, Reveal Me, with the last one, Imagine Me, in 2020. So it was like this young adult series wasn't necessarily in our purview, because that time frame is very much with the Hunger Games, with Divergent, with these young dystopian novels that we were kind of in and out of. So we weren't necessarily in the Shatter Me fandoms. So was the demand was there who maybe somebody was at these peak demands that they were like, we need more of this, our favorite character. Just like to this day, we're still like, what we would do for a Minorian novella, even though Throne of Glass is complete.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I would love if someone could tell us what the demand was, what the fandom is like, because let me tell you here, I love looking at these books. I love the eye art.
They're beautiful. Believe Me is probably one of the best covers I've ever seen.
They're gorgeous. They're absolutely stunning. I love all of them. But I can't justify them because the story and the eye don't really match up. And
what is the eye?
Yeah. Like,
it's not like Jurian. Like that would make sense. Jurian's story and eye.
It's probably a play on Juliet's blue-green eyes, like the world, yeah. Right? It's probably something like that. And then like a couple of them are Aaron's eye. It's like a whole thing. But I mean, they're very pretty, and it catches your attention. You're like, oh, what is this? Like, ooh, it's very, like, but it is, the story is so much. Here's the thing. is so much more graphic than I was expecting. And I say that every time I read one of these books. Sometimes they're just gorier than I expect. Sometimes they're way more sexual than I expect. And sometimes they're just throwing out F-bombs. And I'm like, what? Okay. All right, Kenji, let's go. Like, all right.
By the time I read Believe Me, again, when I was like rereading it, I was like, oh, so the 2011 young adult reader has grown. Like, I don't know. It was definitely steamier. But then it also goes with the conversation. Like, that book was released in 2021. So if we shift in the conversation, like, what is the audience demand? Because you could still also say the same thing about, I'm so sorry. Whatever the Italian story is, I'm drawing a blank. Where they're in Italy and it was a YA series and then it became a trilogy. It was like the first 2 books were very YA and then the 3rd book started and it was really spicy out the gate. It has the 7 deadly sins, but the deadly sins are
Kerri
Maniscalco. Her first 2 books were YA and then there has been a spice demand for a large audience, and nothing against that, but there was that pivot. So, like, this was around that time, too. So, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if there's anything to be said for it.
That's a really good point, too, because I was surprised to see Juliet, just going right down on Aaron there. And
good for Aaron. Good for both of them. Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. But just in the context of these characters, because while we, the reader, have grown since 2011 and since 2019 or whenever she banged out all those books, the characters themselves are the same age. The characters themselves are the same. So to have them then in this very adult situation, this very adult context, when they are days removed from the last time that we read them, it is a little strange to have this jump in behavior when when you look at it and think about it, you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. But when you go into the world, you're like, does it though? I mean, I guess it does. We're just a little more explicit now, but damn.
Well, and the timeline too shifts. And I stopped keeping track of the timeline. They're like, okay, it's been a couple days. Okay, it's been a couple weeks. But even if we talk about a couple weeks from the start of the first book, it's still very different. And also, if you want to argue, the YA of it with, Cassie, Clare, and Shadowhunters, there was more, I think everybody was at least 18. And then it was, the end of the world sex that everybody kept having.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we love the end of the world sex. And that wasn't here, though, because Anderson makes a point because they were fucking a lot, Aaron and Juliet. And he was like, maybe if you could just pull your head out of your ass and stop fucking your girlfriend in the afternoon and do some goddamn work. And Aaron's like, whoa!
Yeah, he's like, whoa! Instead of getting dicked down, you could have worked and you would have
this wouldn't have surprised you. Yeah.
Also, I don't want my parents knowing I'm having sex.
Death first, death first, death first. So, all of that. So, okay, how do these books then end? I think this is important. All of the parents are dead because again, we start with revolution. It ends up rescue missions, and then it concludes by killing all of the parents because they're the leaders. The parents have to die. So it's the children are coming in and they're reclaiming themselves. They're taking out the toxic parents.
I'm wondering, because now I'm thinking of Greek mythology where you have...
It's very Kronos, Zeus of them.
Yes. And then the Greek god, and then you have Zeus and the siblings going to be nope, we're not that now. That's what I was thinking.
But also though, it just kind of goes to do the work. After all of the parents are dead and the children redistribute themselves to all of their territories and everybody's trying to quell everything and keep everything calm, Aaron says, like, we don't have the infrastructure to, like, do any of this yet. Like, you have all of these, like, big dreams and these big projects. Like, we can't do all of it yet. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, you still can't do shit. Like, you won, and you still are fucking struggling. Because, again, and I do like this like introspection from Juliet. She's like, I should have, Aaron. I should have listened to you. I should have studied the reports. I should have, like, gotten to know all these people. I should have known what was going on. I should have, like, really listened to the politics, and I didn't, and you were right. And Aaron's better than me, because I would have been like, yeah, say it again, and a little bit louder. Thank you.
Oh, I'm a huge I told you so person, and I want to hear you say it out loud. I know.
I'm all ears.
That's why I said it. I didn't just tell you this advice pulled out from my ass. Like, I have also been groomed for this my entire life.
Yep. Yeah,
I know a thing or two about running a government, a sector, whatever you want to call it. I have some, use me as a resource. I don't even, because, Aaron is exhausted because he said at one point, he was like, this is really nice. I don't have to look over anybody. I don't have to look at paperwork. I am tired. Let me eat, shower, and get laid. Everybody else, he was done.
Yep. Absolutely done. Speaking of Aaron being done, all Aaron wants to do is marry Juliet. Jessica, walk me through all of that.
What is there not to walk through? Justice for Aaron. Boy has been traumatized. He has, and I'm very frustrated. I was frustrated when I first read it. I was frustrated with the reread because, aside from the screaming miscommunication trope from the second chapter, you have Kenji, who can't catch a fucking hint that they've from when they were reconnected, and I say they, Juliet and Aaron, they were reconnected, they're having sex, they're just in love with each other, they're engaged, they're getting interrupted, Kenji doesn't give a flying fuck, and then they're getting married, and he's burnt down where the wedding supplies were, the dress is gone, this, that, the other thing, ruining times. I was like, this is the biggest cockblock of I think anybody's ever heard of. And Aaron is a better person than me because I would have flown off the handle. So when he even makes the comment, Juliet is such a better person. No, there is no better person than Aaron Warner. It's insane because all this man wants, he doesn't care about a wedding. He doesn't. He just wants to have a marriage. He wants to be married to the love of his life. He's so tired of them being pulled away from each other. He's like, we can figure everything else out. I just want to marry you. And nobody's listening that's all he wants. And so when Juliet's like, haha, I actually don't want to get married. Not only does she not say that, she has somebody else deliver the message that she doesn't want to have the wedding. Of course his mind is going a mile a minute. Are you having second thoughts? Is it me? I know there's a lot of shit going on. And she's just kind of dancing around it. And again, this goes back to the whole found family. You entrusted all of these people. He had every right to be pissed. So everybody knows you don't want to get married today except me. And this is how I have to find out. All for it to flash forward to be like, ha ha ha, psych, I did want to get married, but we wanted to have it on a different day. No, you wanted to have a wedding on a different day. This man, all he wanted, I'm sorry, I'm defending Aaron to my core. All he wanted was to marry you. And if you said, I know I would want you to have this big ceremony, he would have been like, have the ceremony, do whatever you want. We can have it whenever. I just want to be married to you. You know how many people I know got either moved their wedding in 2020 when there was a pandemic, when all of these things were happening, or they said, you know what, I really just want to be married to you. And they had a ceremony later and they only kept the people who were in their bubble to do their actual marriage ceremony. So many people. And that's where you're like, okay, those people, it wasn't about the wedding. No, he just wanted his marriage to start. I feel so bad for them.
I feel so bad for him. And here's the thing too. We're talking about like, are these people actually found family? You know, we have that conversation a lot. Are they trauma bound? Do they actually like each other? Castle's daughter, I am blanking on her name.
Nuria
is so mean when she is delivering this news to Aaron. She's like screaming at him. She's like, well, she doesn't want to marry you anyway. No one likes you. Like, fuck off and die, pretty much. Like, we're all here because of, or like, we tolerate you because of Juliet. Like, no one likes you. Like, you're miserable to be around. Like, fuck off. And he just, again, fucking takes it. And he's just like, you know what? Like, fuck you. And he just takes it. Again, better person than me. Again, though, why the fuck? I don't understand the attitude. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Juliet is like, she shouldn't have said that to you. It's like, no, she really shouldn't have. So, like, what the fuck?
But you should have told me also. She shouldn't have said that, and you should have told me. And it's just like, and even if, like, people were dancing around how they were going to tell him, that's not how you do it. Or, like, you know, like...
That's not any of their business.
No.
That is
No.
Juliet and Aaron business.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, like, he didn't, like, she wasn't supposed to go that hard. She really took that, you know, like, trying to throw you off a little too seriously. That's not trying to throw you off. That's
not
how you feel.
acting.
That's, no.
Yeah. That is not acting. That is truth. And it's crazy. It's just crazy. And then you're expected to just like live with these people too. Like after Sam blows up at him too. And you're just supposed to like sit there and take it and like work to, I'd be so fucking pissed off. Oh my God. But Aaron is a saint. He sleeps on the floor.
And he says, and you know what? And he says this, and I know he says it directly to Kenji, but you know, it's also a blanketed comment to everybody in Juliet's life. He goes, make no mistake, you're alive because Juliet cares about you. I give a flying fuck about it. I have never made it I don't know. I think you all know me well enough that I have made it no secret that I don't care about any of you. I care about her, and she's the reason that everybody's alive. If the world ended tomorrow, I wouldn't lose any sleep unless she was gone.
That's also like retcon though, because in Aaron's, Kenji's, I don't know, in one of their character developments, when I don't know whose character development it is. Just maybe you can help me straighten it out. But right before Aaron's about to like get married, and he gets like very nervous, and Kenji's like, "Go on, my guy, like go get married." And Aaron turns to him, he's like, "Aren't you coming?" And Kenji's like, and the way that it's written, it's like he takes a beat. He's like, yeah, man. Like, no, of course I'm coming. It's just like, whose character development is that? Both of them? Maybe? I don't know.
I feel like it's more, if it's anything, it's more Aaron's, because there's a lot of conversation of like, I think Kenji has had internal dialogues about like, what's the easiest defense mechanism so you're not hurt, so you're not disappointed. Like, it's easier to isolate yourself than to rely on somebody. It's easier to rely on yourself than to rely on somebody else, because somebody else gives disappointment. If it's just yourself, like, you can only be upset with yourself kind of thing. Like, I don't know. It kind of coincides with hyper independency along with how he was raised. So, like, Aaron saying, aren't you coming, is a sort of character growth that he's leaned on Kenji in a weird way at some points, like a weird bromance, because Kenji will also say, like, I know you're freaking out. And Aaron would say, how do you know that? And Kenji was like, I've seen you have a panic attack. Like, that's not... You never have shown... And I just happened to stumble in on your panic attack. But, like, I know what that looks like for you.
It's just a weird... I don't know. It's like they were flirting all of the books and like now they're friends. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, all right, finally.
Yeah, if they had like a Deadpool Wolverine fight out, that would have been like, finally, but
like we get it. Like, like it's out, like it's fine. But we don't have that. we also don't have like a ceremony or whatever. The book just kind of like ends, right?
No, again, because I have, for Imagine Me, I was like that. I go, it really was Juliet finally kills her sister after Aaron pulls Juliet's memory back from like a heated makeout sesh. And the wrap up was, it was anticlimactic. I said in my notes, I put, it was anticlimactic. I can see why we got the post-series novella, because it was just like there. And then, you had the epilogue, and then it became its whole thing. But again, the novella just ends like, and Kenji's like, and Cass is going to be your neighbor.
Oh, yeah, that's how it ends.
Fuck? I'm going to another continent. I'm not staying here to fix shit if you're my neighbor.
Yeah, no, for real. That's also part of it too. It's like, oh, Juliet wants us to be neighbors. It's like, well, okay, again, why aren't we talking about this? This is our fucking house.
I would be having the loudest, most uncomfortable sex that would make Kenji move. I mean, even when Ethan is like, that seems like medically that's not a smart idea. I don't want your commentary.
Yeah, nope, I don't want your commentary. It's going to be ridiculous and you're going to move. And that's just what it's going to be. We're all going to
have
get
speakers facing your house.
Yeah, we're going to get, certificates in the Karma Sutra. Like, it's going to be ridiculous just to get the fuck rid of you. So this book ends like, let's gonna be neighbors, with the assumption then that they're gonna start cleaning up neighborhoods. They're redrawing sectors. They're like doing things to like bring people back.
And creating jobs, because that was a big thing. It's like, we're going to create labor opportunities so people can like have a say in the community that they're building.
Right.
And reestablishing.
But then again, that's it. It ends.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I guess then this is open-ended for the future.
Which it is confirmed that she has Watch Me, which is the spin-off, which is like set 10 years into the future. Currently it's set to be released on April 15th, 2025. And it's focusing on James Anderson, which is Aaron's half-brother and Adam's brother. And he's off doing stuff. It's set in the future. I think this opens up the conversation of, was there a demand for more? Are we wanting more? I mean, you could argue the same thing with the Folk of the Air and Oak.
I was just thinking that too, because again, we were like super stoked for that. We're like, oh my gosh, like we're going to have all of that. And when we got into that story, we're like, we like some parts of that. So but it's so weird though, because then you could also say with Cassie Clare, we're like, yes, give us more future, more past, more like bitches love Easter eggs. We are bitches. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Like, where's it? And maybe it is, we're not in this fandom and we're not immersed in it. So we don't know what the demand is. And also, I've never seen these characters happy. So my first thought would be like, oh, well, James is going in there and he's doing stuff and he's got to go rescue Juliet. Like, he has that power too. He has that healing power. Yeah, but like that can't possibly be the plot because that would be ridiculous. So it has to be something else, which would like draw a reader in and be like, what is this about? So I understand that. And talking it out, I am a little interested, but I would read a like summary before I would pick that up, you know? Yeah. And their summaries is now available on Amazon is where I had looked over it, but I know that the author talked about it on the Today Show. She posted, it's like, it's out, it's on her socials. So like there is context there if that's something that you're interested in exploring, or even being like, this isn't a book that I'd be like, I have to avoid spoilers. Like, I think I would want the spoilers to see if I'd be intrigued enough to find out more. Yeah, no, definitely. Again, the same way. So I don't know. I keep bringing this back to The Walking Dead. It's just the same kind of feeling that I had with it. After a while, I stopped watching The Walking Dead and I would just read summaries of the episodes so I could keep the story like going in my head, but I wouldn't have to watch the graphic, like, violence that was going on. One, because, like, I watch TV when I'm eating dinner, and, like, zombies and dinner don't mix. So I would read a summary, but also, like, it was too fucking depressing to watch. Like, the world itself was post-apocalyptic. Obviously, we're in zombies, and it was depressing. And then the stories were depressing.
And I'm assuming that the summaries didn't, like, it wasn't like reading a book where you had the graphic descriptions of, you're like, here's some of the plot points, here's some of the characters, and you were able to keep,
and here's the end.
And you kept up with it too from the show. So, like, in a pop culture sense, if you went to work and there was, like, you know, water cooler conversation, like, nothing was a surprise. You were able to, like, stay abreast of what was happening.
Exactly. And I didn't feel like I was, like, missing out on anything, and I had the complete story. So then I kind of feel that same way here. Like, I would really love a summary. I'd like to know what's going on, and I would like to know if there is going to be something beyond this new book. Like, is this going to be his new series, or is this a one-off? Are we going to get others? Like, I'd like to know, you know, that this is me. I'd like to know the plan here, because I don't know. You know, it's like,
and it, like it said, we were just saying, like, it's that rhetorical question of, where do you stop? Do you DNF a series? Some of us do, some of us don't. Some of us signed up for a duology, and then it's become like something that is like a 5-book series. Do we want more of the story? There's clearly a demand for some. And I guess, I mean, ultimately it comes down to you, the reader, because, like, who are we to say? Like, we're having our own experience, but people are like, but we've also had that same thing with other books. We're like, oh, I can't wait for another one. I can't wait for another one. And how that story structure changes too, because that was the conversation with Crescent City. It was a confirmed trilogy. And then after the second book did so well, we're like, and we're confirming it for a fourth one. So, like, you throw out what had been leading up to it that whole time.
See, now you got me thinking, was the second one, like, there is so much vitriol towards the later Crescent City books that it is interesting to me then, does a person then go back and look at those numbers and say, you know, they are successful, but, like,
no, because, I mean, at the end of the day, everything's a business. So they don't care if, like,
it's sold. That's all they care about.
Yeah, it's sold. It's a bottom line thing. I mean, you could argue that with, like, studio franchises too, no matter how it might have bombed in reviews. If that box office number looks pretty.
That's true.
I mean, look at Twilight. Twilight, everybody hated the CGI and everything, but they kept going, and it's still the franchise that we talk about season. So
that's true.
So
that's true. And then if you want to just talk about franchises in general, like, when you should stop, Fast and Furious.
But we're on, like, I saw somebody say, like, Fast and Furious Sharknado crossover, and honestly, that people laughed at the concept of Sharknado, and then it became a cult classic, and you know that because people were dressing up with it at all the cons. And I mean, I would be seated and curious at a Fast and Furious Sharknado crossover. So
when does curiosity override common sense? And when does curiosity override what? Like, entertainment? Like, when? I don't know.
Is it money? Is it money?
Is it money? Interesting. Is it money?
In a capitalistic society.
Yeah.
Is it money?
I mean, well, everything is money.
Right.
So then it has to be.
And I mean, think about it. The series has been over for a few years, and then they re-released the first 3 books. I think some of, like, the book box subscriptions, you know, that are out there, they've released these books and re-released these books, with different sprayed edges and different covers. And I mean, and they're still selling out.
That's true. That's true. Oh, this is very interesting. I would like to know if anybody has any thoughts on this conversation.
Yeah, if you made it this far and you didn't, like, turn us off from, like, some of the shit talking that we did.
I wouldn't even call it shit talking. I think it's just having just, like, a nice,
that's
like,
true.
You know, like, frontal cortex conversation here. Because because, and I'm saying it that way because these characters are like Erin's 20, right? Like at the end of this, like we're older, we're getting towards like adulthood, and if the latest book then is going to be set 10 years later, then Aaron will be 30. So like we're full adults then. So then there's no more excuses for stupidity.
And I love that you recorrected me and saying it isn't shit talking, because I think so often we think of having negative opinions as shit talking. And I wouldn't even say that they're negative. They are just conversations that we are having that might not align with, like, not everything is a woo party session, 5-star read, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a productive conversation.
Exactly. And to kind of wrap that then, let's end on some positivity. Jess, what do we really enjoy about this?
Aaron Warner.
Yeah.
I think that's something easy. Honestly, I think we can both say that we take away that these characters, specifically Aaron, better than us. Because, and these are our adults, you know, these are our adult opinions. And we say that in the context of, and we said this with The Little Mermaid, we can love The Little Mermaid, but when Ariel says, I'm 16 years old, I'm not a child, like, you kind of are, Ariel. In that context, there are many situations where there are 16-year-olds who are holding down the family, who are working their jobs to they are the parent of the family, and that's not what that comment is towards. But at the same time, they shouldn't have to be doing that at 16. But again, our adult conversations, there's a lot going on. A lot of our opinions come from that. I think this is a good series to start off with if you are exploring fantasy. I will say that. And you're not sure, you're like, where the stakes don't feel so high, and you're looking for something to not sob over. Because when I had first read it, it was only ACOTAR, ACOMAF, and ACOWAR, and ACOFAS that existed. Like, that was it. That was my fantasy journey, and maybe Folk of the Air. So, if you're looking for something that you're like, well, where do I go from here? This is a great place. What about you?
Oh, well. I think, Jess, you and I have talked before recording about how all of these people are better than I am, because I would just take them all out and rule the reestablishment myself, because I cannot abide all of this redundancy, idiocracy, and just complete and utter waste of resources. It's just like so dumb. Like just these are children. These are children. Control them like children. You're adults. Like, okay, you know what? But fine. What I really like about this series, I really, really like this concept of like these parents were like megalomaniacs and banded together and decided they could do it better, and then created all these test tube children to mold in their image, and then, you know, put them out to rule because their coup actually worked. You know, I like when the thing happens, right? So I like that the coup happened. I like that the reestablishment is in power. And then it's just like, but like once that happens and once that's in power, it's just like this slog. So my favorite thing would be Aaron, of course. Aaron Warner is my favorite thing throughout all of this. And Nazira. I very much enjoy Nazira. I like how she stands up for Ella. She stands up and says, like, no, fuck you. I'm the only one thinking. Like, yeah, like, I didn't betray you with Anderson, but it was the only way to get in here and get all of this. Like, use your goddamn brain. Like, yes, I can go invisible. Yes, I can do this. Let's use this tactically. Let's steal the plane. Because she feels this loyalty to Ella and Emmeline. She remembers them as children. It's this like this bond that they have. I very much like that. And then to add to that, I like the author's writing style in general. I like that it's descriptive. I like that it's simple. I like that she uses words that are like crystal clear to get the point across on what's happening. That being said, she describes the violence using those terms, so it makes it very visceral and very real. which again is probably all part of the point. So, do I love the series? No. Would I reread the series? No. Do I love Aaron? Yes. Would I buy Aaron Warner merch? Absolutely. Did I ever think I would find myself defending another blonde guy character besides Draco? No, but here I am. And you know what? I will defend Aaron up and down, left and right, sideways, till the cows come home, because he deserves it. Because the only one that defends him is fucking Juliet when she tells everybody to shut the fuck up, and she only does that once.
Maybe twice.
And
it's both in Believe Me.
Yeah, at the end.
Which is why he's also so shocked. Like, I've never had anybody do this my entire life.
Yeah, but just in the way that we are like a Justice for Bonnie Bennett podcast, we are a Justice for Aaron Warner podcast.
And with that being said, feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.